What unfolds when the owner of the company takes it upon himself to clean toilets in search of the root of the problem? Vernon Riley had no intention of taking over the enterprise his father established. He was meant to be a jazz musician. However, after his father's passing, Vernon took on the responsibility. After establishing 6 stores, employing 300 individuals, and managing a warehouse, he believed he had transformed the family business into a well-oiled machine, or so he assumed. Recently, however, the pieces just didn't seem to fit together. At Store 4, there has been a decline in customer satisfaction scores. The turnover rate was notably elevated, particularly among those employees aged 25 and younger. Vernon had perused the reports. He had endured countless meetings, yet each time the responses seemed scripted. The district manager had remarked last week that it's the generation. They seem disinterested in putting in the effort. That didn't resonate well with Vernon. Thus, he devised a strategy. He would assume the guise of a training assistant, a fresh, corporate position they had recently launched. It was flawless. The stores had yet to encounter the individuals in this newly established role. He would seamlessly integrate into the surroundings. His identity would remain a mystery to all. He trimmed his beard, removed the grey from his hair, and donned bold, thick-rimmed glasses. Victor was the name displayed on his tag. The sole individuals privy to the truth were the HR department and his assistant stationed at headquarters. Store 4 was a 2-hour journey away. An aged structure, limited parking space, and brisk pedestrian movement. Vernon arrived at the lot early Monday morning, his nerves more taut than he had anticipated. He had never been one for pretense, yet he felt compelled to uncover the reality. Upon entering, he encountered a youthful cashier named Jules. A slender figure, perhaps 17 or 18, with a shy smile that hints at unease. "You're the one in charge of training," she said, smoothing out her apron. "Indeed, Victor. It's the inaugural day." "That's interesting. It seems you are meant to meet Miss Harding." Vernon was unfamiliar with that name. "Is she the one in charge?" "No, she leads the department. She sprints ahead, leading the way, pretty much everything, to be honest." That was the initial warning sign. 15 minutes later, Miss Harding made her entrance. She stood tall in her late 30s, her sharp jawline accentuating her presence, a clipboard firmly in hand. Her voice resonated throughout the room. "You're Victor, correct? You have arrived later than expected. I arrived at 8. And you failed to discover me. That's quite tardy. It's time to get going." Vernon trailed behind her down the dimly lit back hallway. The door to the break room stood ajar. 4 younger employees were seated indoors, their heads bowed, engaged in minimal conversation. "Listen," Harding said, his gaze fixed elsewhere. "I can't dedicate time to supervising others. This week, we're down 5 team members due to the kids resigning, so please don't hold me back." Her tone was sharp and unvaried. She had no desire for inquiries. The upcoming hours proved to be challenging. Harding issued commands with authority as Vernon trailed behind. He replenished the shelves, tidied up behind the registers, and arranged the inventory with care. Her gaze seldom met his, save for moments of critique. "Hurry up, Victor. These are not artifacts for display." At noon, she burst into the break room, with determination. "Jules, Cody, it's your turn to take over the register now. The lunch break has concluded," but we had only just settled in when she snapped, "Get up faster." Vernon observed Jules standing there, gaze cast downward. Cody, perhaps around 19, appeared as though he had something to express, yet he remained silent. Victor tidied up the restroom. At that moment, he felt the urge to engage in a debate, yet he held back. He had to witness everything by 3. He had witnessed enough to realize that something was amiss. It's not merely about leadership challenges. There's a more profound underlying issue at play. Terror. The junior staff treaded carefully in Harding's presence. No one wore a smile. Silence reigned unless addressed. Some customers quietly voiced their discontent as they completed their purchases. She displayed a lack of courtesy towards that girl. A woman muttered, gesturing toward the front. Vernon gave a slight nod. "I appreciate you sharing that with me." He grabbed a clipboard from the counter and feigned checking the inventory. At 4 o'clock he entered the stockroom. In that moment the sound reached his ears. Are you not understanding? Harding's voice cut through the air. No, I just wasn't aware it went there, Jules stammered. It's obvious. If only you dedicated less time to TikTok and focused more on mastering your role, we wouldn't find ourselves 2 steps behind. Vernon emerged from his hiding place behind the shelf. Harding pivoted. Excuse me? I believed my role was to assist. With backroom training, Jules appeared as though she wished to vanish into thin air. Harding let out an exasperated sigh. This one requires no training, she requires structure. Vernon's jaw tightened. She is 17 years old. That's not how you should speak to her. Harding folded her arms across her chest. This store isn't. Under your control, I certainly do. Vernon remained silent, yet within him a change occurred. He had transcended the role of being merely undercover. He felt a surge of anger when he encountered Jules as she was leaving later that evening. Hey, he said, strolling alongside her. Are you all right? Her nod came a bit too swiftly. Indeed, I've grown accustomed to it. That shattered him more than anything else. He returned indoors, settled into the break room, and lingered until the last person had departed. Tomorrow he would return, but not as Victor. He would be Vernon Riley, and everything was about to shift. The following morning, Vernon made his entrance just before the doors opened, looking dapper in a navy sport coat and neatly pressed slacks. Without any disguise or pretense, only honesty prevails. He slipped in through the rear, where 2 staff members quietly unloaded boxes. A slender young man, his lanyard brimming with keys, glanced up and offered a tentative nod. The man inquired about your staff. I'm Vernon Riley, he said, reaching out his hand. The owner of the company, the man blinked. Hold on, you mean the Vernon Riley who authorizes the payments? That's me, just a moment. He then brushed his hand against his shirt before extending it for a shake. Derek, the night team lead. I didn't expect it. No one did, Vernon remarked as he walked by. Where is Miss Harding? Derek paused for a moment, then gestured toward the sales floor. She is conducting a walkthrough checklist for the morning. Vernon entered the main room just as the lights flickered to life above him. At the far end, Harding held a clipboard directing a stalker who was diligently stacking detergent. This isn't how I showed you, she said, her gaze fixed elsewhere. It's oriented towards the aisle, not the brand. Can you resolve this? The boy rearranged the bottles in silence. Vernon made his way forward with deliberate slowness. Miss Harding, he stated with composure. She pivoted midway, then became still. Her gaze sharpened. Mr. Riley, she said after a pause, her tone impossible to decipher. I would appreciate the opportunity to have a private conversation with you. The clipboard descended by half an inch. Naturally, they made their way to the manager's office, nestled behind the break room. Vernon shut the door softly, sealing off the world outside. It resonated more intensely than anticipated. He refrained from taking a seat. I spent yesterday in this place incognito. Harding's expression remained unchanged. He crossed his arms. I observed the treatment of the staff. I witnessed your interaction with a 17-year-old girl in the stockroom. I listened. To your words, I noticed how you disregarded a new employee in front of the team. Your feedback lacked guidance and was solely focused on criticism. You commanded the room with the authority of a drill sergeant. You accomplished this without considering their age, their position, or their sense of dignity. Harding finally turned, his gaze toward him. This establishment is lacking adequate staff and is overwhelmed by disinterested young employees who seem indifferent to their responsibilities. I don't have time for coddling. He mentioned that while hand-holding isn't necessary, guidance is essential. Your actions reflect control rather than true leadership. She remarked that soft individuals are not given the respect they deserve. If you allow them some leeway, they will take advantage of it. I observed them treading lightly. She remained silent. You've instilled fear rather than fostering discipline. There exists a distinction. No reply yet. You're finished here. Her gaze sharpened, beg your pardon. Your employment is being ended. In effect, right away, your payment will be processed today. This company will not provide any references. She parted her lips, yet Vernon lifted a hand to silence her. This is a definitive statement. Her jaw clenched, yet silence enveloped her. She rose, gathered her clipboard, and exited the room in silence. Vernon held his breath until the door clicked closed, then let it out in a rush. His temples pulsed with intensity. He emerged 5 minutes later to find Derek positioned with a clipboard, making a noticeable effort to avoid eavesdropping. "She has left," Vernon stated, in effect immediately. "Who is your current manager?" Derek gulped. "There isn't one available. She took it all on herself, never bothering to train a backup. So we are navigating this journey side by side." Vernon dedicated the following hour to pacing the room, making introductions. The responses varied from shock to evident comfort. Jewel caught sight of him by the back-end cap and halted in his tracks. He gestured softly. "May we have a conversation?" She moved forward with a deliberate pace, her apron creased and her hair gathered in a casual half-bun. "I owe you an apology," Vernon stated. "It was unacceptable for you to be treated that way yesterday. That's not the way we approach things." She nodded, a hint of uncertainty in her expression, unsure of how to respond. "Are you still attending school?" he inquired. "Indeed, I will be graduating in the spring. Do you work on weekends and in the afternoons?" "Primarily. In the mornings, I assist my mom with my younger brothers. Have you ever had a genuine mentor in this place?" She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "Typically, we receive more instructions on what to avoid. That stops here." He escorted her to the front, where 2 cashiers were skillfully managing a modest lunch rush. Cody was there, the very same boy from the previous day. Today, he appeared more open, yet there was still a hint of caution in his demeanor. Vernon took his place behind the register alongside them. "We will approach things in a new way," he stated, "beginning with our training methods, our communication with one another, and the way we demonstrate respect." Cody cast a sidelong glance. "Indeed, you are the one in charge," he acknowledged with a slow nod. "Understood." In the span of 3 hours, Vernon moved through each department. He replenished the shelves alongside a woman named Lisa, who had dedicated 9 years to the job without receiving a single promotion. He assisted in unloading a truck alongside Jamal, a gentle 23-year-old who mentioned he hadn't had a day off in 12 weeks due to the lack of anyone willing to step in for him. In the IT break room, he stumbled upon a binder brimming with written reports. Almost every employee possessed at least one. Many were for unclear violations, negative demeanor, sluggish performance, and not adhering to explicit directions. No one demonstrated any effort in providing guidance or making adjustments. He shut the binder and pushed it to the side. By mid-afternoon, he assembled the team in the front aisle. "It's not a formal meeting, just a casual huddle. Let's get real," he stated. "Everything feels off around here. You've been toiling away under the authority of someone who failed to acknowledge your worth. That has come to an end. Starting today, we are creating something greater, as a team." Lisa folded her arms across her chest. "Who will be in charge of the store?" "I will for the time being until we discover the ideal candidate. However, I would appreciate your thoughts on this. Everyone has experienced this. You have a clear understanding of what is effective and what falls short." Jamal's voice was barely a whisper. "Are we attracting a larger audience?" "Absolutely. Beginning next week, we will be bringing in 2 floaters from Store 2. I've also given the green light for overtime for the upcoming month. No more extended periods of 12 weeks. A couple of heads bobbed in agreement. Several gazes fell. "Away." "And training?" Jules inquired. "We will create new materials, but I want your input in the process of shaping them. You're familiar with the experience of being a newcomer in this place. Your contribution will enhance the experience for those who come after you." The audience gradually scattered. Silence reigns, filled with a tentative optimism devoid of celebration or acclaim. As the evening wore on, Vernon strolled through the aisles once more. The atmosphere was charged in a new way, not set in stone but more buoyant, as if the atmosphere had transformed. Cody was busy polishing a display when he stumbled upon him. "Are you considering sticking around?" Vernon inquired. Cody gave a nonchalant shrug. "It all hinges on what unfolds next. Allow me to demonstrate." Cody offered a brief nod before resuming his task of cleaning. Vernon jotted down a reminder on his phone to identify future leaders. Begin with Cody and Jules. As the day waned, twilight enveloped the lot. The neon sign flickered into existence. Vernon lingered near the glass doors, observing the final few customers as they made their way out. He never intended to find himself here for the week. Yet at this moment he was certain he would. Trust was not something that could be handed off to others. That's no longer the case. The following morning, Vernon made his entrance once more, this time through the front door. The assistant manager, a reserved individual named Renzo, who had mostly remained in the shadows the previous day, was in the process of unlocking the registers. He halted in his tracks as he noticed Vernon coming closer. "Is this something you do on a daily basis?" Renzo inquired, his uncertainty evident in the way he struggled to articulate his thoughts. "I promise to assist in stabilizing this store." That was not a fleeting commitment. Renzo glanced at the register, then lifted his gaze once more. "Okay. We have a delivery scheduled for around 10, and the trucks are heavier than normal. The night crew managed to complete only half of yesterday's shipment." Vernon emphasized the importance of keeping the floor team focused on register coverage. "Without distractions, we'll maintain momentum while ensuring everyone stays energized." Renzo offered a brief, firm nod before heading back to the register. Though his words were few, Vernon sensed the intensity of his gaze. By mid-morning, Vernon had found his groove. He moved between the floor and the back room, offering assistance as necessary while discreetly jotting down observations. With Harding absent, the team appeared uncertain, operating like a machine still reliant on the echoes of past directives. He spotted Jules in the cleaning products aisle, working to clear a spot for a new display. She wasn't exactly facing challenges, but her arrangement lacked effectiveness. He paused next to her. He suggested raising the shelf risers by half an inch. "That approach will allow for more rows and the bottles will remain stable." She glanced upward. "Where did you acquire that knowledge?" "Before I took on my role in the office, I spent my Friday nights restocking bleach." She arched an eyebrow, but chose not to pursue it further. "I assumed you would have left by today." "Not at this moment." "There remains more to accomplish." She carefully maneuvered the risers upward and fine-tuned the arrangement of the bottles. Improved considerably. Cody was leading a customer toward the pet aisle, positioned near the front. His voice carried a sense of tranquility, yet his stance was unnaturally rigid for someone merely gesturing. Vernon observed that the customer appeared perplexed, not irate, indicating that any unease Cody experienced did not stem from her. Once the customer had departed, Vernon made his way over to him. Cody nodded, perhaps a bit too eagerly. "Absolutely, just aiming to keep everything on track." "You did not." Cody's gaze remained fixed on the ground. "You don't have to demonstrate anything to me," Vernon stated. "Simply approach your work with diligence and that will suffice." Cody finally raised his gaze. "Shifting focus can be quite challenging, as we've all been preparing for this moment for an extended period. I understand. That's the reason for my presence." The truck pulled in just after 10, bringing with it a fresh dilemma. The regular delivery driver was unavailable due to illness, and the substitute had mistakenly placed pallets in the incorrect sequence, obstructing access to essential inventory. Renzo entered the back room, his fingers pressing against the bridge of his nose. "Produce is trapped behind the paper goods. We can't sell what we can't access." Vernon surveyed the chaos. "We won't finish this in less than an hour. Let's pull out 5 carts of essentials right now and keep the day moving forward. After lunch, we'll rotate the rest through." Renzo paused. "That will create a bottleneck in the back room. It already is. This approach grants us additional time." With assistance from Jamal and a recent addition to the team, Tessa, they successfully carved out a narrow route through the pallets to gather the quickest selling items. It may not have been refined, but it ensured the shelves remained stocked. Noon, Vernon paused to sit outside, not for rest but to reflect. The store lacked an internal leadership pipeline, a coaching system, and an incentive structure. It had persisted through adherence rather than involvement. He continued to jot down notes as Lisa took her break. She held a granola bar and a petite notebook, which she mostly concealed beneath her arm. Vernon gestured to the empty seat beside him. "Would you be open to sharing how you would manage this place if you had the reins?" She halted abruptly, caught in the moment. "Excuse me? You've spent ample time here, and you've noticed the voids. What would you prioritize for fixing first?" She settled into her seat with hesitation, uncertain if this was some kind of trial. Timetables, she concluded at last. They always seemed illogical. Those who requested mornings ended up with nights. Those unable to handle the heavier loads found themselves relegated to the rear regardless. Why was that not brought to attention? Harding was not fond of being interrogated. Vernon gave a slight nod. What more is there? Lisa surveyed her surroundings. Before retrieving her notebook, I've been monitoring which items fly off the shelves first. There are patterns, yet when I mention it, no one pays attention. Demonstrate it to me. She turned to the page. Well-structured columns, meticulously recorded dates, inventory counts, and observations regarding customer interactions. It offered a depth of understanding unlike any document he'd encountered in a long time. Have you ever trained anyone? He inquired. She gently shook her head. I used to lend a hand, but then she mentioned that I was a bit too chatty. He softly shut the notebook. Next week, you'll begin the process of reimagining the training program. Her eyes grew large, yet silence enveloped her. Instead, she gave a slow nod and rose when her break came to an end. She turned away without a glance back. As the afternoon waned, the store found itself in an unusual rhythm. While it wasn't flawless, the new cashier inadvertently double-scanned a few items and the back room still required some tidying, there was a noticeable change in the atmosphere. There was reduced murmuring, increased teamwork. Vernon lingered by the registers, fielding inquiries, adjusting impulse displays, and observing customer reactions. At one moment, a mother accompanied by her 2 children approached Jules, seeking assistance in locating a particular allergy-friendly snack. Jules acted without a moment's pause. She guided them to the right shelf, clarified the distinctions between the 2 nearly identical boxes, and even proposed an alternative in case they ran out the following week. As she made her way back, Vernon intercepted her in passing. You managed that quite effectively. I just realized what I would desire if I were in her position. That's precisely the attitude we require, she shrugged. I am making an effort. You're accomplishing so much more. An hour before closing, Vernon gathered everyone for a low-key meeting in the break room, more of an invitation than a requirement. The majority of the staff still made an appearance. He positioned himself at the forefront, next to a whiteboard that had been rolled out from the depths of storage. We are in the process of developing a new system, he stated, a place where you can arrive without the need to prepare for impact, yet I can't create it by myself. Your thoughts would be appreciated. Beyond mere solutions to complaints, what resources or support would enhance your performance? Initially, there was a hush, but then Jamal lifted his hand. Is it possible to receive a schedule further out than 3 days? Absolutely. From the next pay cycle onward, shifts will be made available 1 week in advance. Tessa, the latest addition to the team, lifted a finger. Is it possible to inquire without the worry of being a nuisance to others? Never hesitate to seek clarification. If anyone causes you to feel that way, I would like to be informed. Additional hands emerged. Inspiration flowed rapidly. Improved signage in the back room, more straightforward cleaning checklists, and divided responsibilities to ensure cashiers weren't left handling returns by themselves during busy times. Vernon meticulously noted each point, not merely to demonstrate his attentiveness, but because he genuinely was. Following the meeting, he spotted Renzo by the door. How you've got potential, Vernon remarked, but you've been staying under the radar. I wanted to avoid any conflict by not overstepping her boundaries. Step on mine, Vernon instructed. If anything is amiss, please let me know. If you have a more effective approach, please share it. Renzo hesitated. Are you seriously going to stick around until it's resolved? I'm here to stay. As the store closed its doors for the night, Vernon lingered, offering his assistance with the cleanup, not out of obligation, but to demonstrate that true leadership transcends the confines of a delegation. It appeared in the aisles, in the break room, in the tiniest of gestures. The store remained unhealed, not at this moment, yet it was at last drawing in air once more. Vernon made his entrance on Thursday morning, just before the dawn broke, finding a spot beneath the stuttering glow of the security light at the lot's edge. The atmosphere was thick with the scent of wet concrete mingling with the lingering aroma of old fryer oil from the nearby fast food establishment. He retrieved the store keys from the depths of his jacket pocket and entered the space by himself. The silence resonated with a new quality, no longer empty, but filled with anticipation. He made his way directly to the back room, where the freight awaited sorting. The night crew had accomplished more than he expected, yet 2 pallets of dry goods still obstructed the fire exit. He took hold of a box cutter and began dismantling the outer wrap on his own. When Lisa and Renzo finally showed up, he had already emptied half of a pallet and arranged a new display cart for the paper aisle. Lisa stepped inside, coat still draped over her shoulders, her gaze sweeping over the disarray that was only partially tamed. "You stayed awake, didn't you?" she inquired. "I've had my fill," Vernon said. "A vendor representative will be arriving at 10 o'clock. I want the front half to appear polished by that time." Renzo approached the clipboard that was affixed near the door. "I will retrieve the floor map and revise the assignment list. Lisa, could you take care of the resets in aisle 6? She nodded, slipping her apron over her sweatshirt with a sense of purpose. "I will enlist Cody's assistance. No one else is scheduled until 8, Renzo remarked, his gaze fixed elsewhere. "Let's make the most of our resources." They glided swiftly, shrouded in quietude. As the initial group of employees stepped in, the store appeared more organized, still not quite refined, but definitely less chaotic. At 8:30, Vernon convened Lisa, Jules, and Renzo by the break room for a quick check-in. He mentioned that vendor representatives will be arriving in 90 minutes. The emphasis is on ensuring placement compliance for the new allergy-friendly line. "Jules, you have an exceptional understanding of that customer base." As she arrives, walk the aisle with her, Jules blinked. "You're the one who truly understands the product more than anyone else in this room. You will excel." Lisa offered a slight nod next to her, and Jules chose not to press the matter any further. As they dispersed, Vernon discreetly guided Renzo to a secluded spot by the water fountain. "You've really risen to the occasion," he remarked. "You've maintained a strong and consistent presence for the team. I would like to discuss the possibility of solidifying your position." Renzo adjusted his stance. "I have yet to lead a complete team. You're already fulfilling the role. We will create a foundation of support tailored just for you." Renzo remained silent for a moment, yet he offered no objections. The vendor representative arrived shortly after 10, a lively woman in her 40s with a sleek bob and a clipboard tucked under one arm. Vernon brought her to Jules and stepped aside, observing as they strolled down the aisle. Jules articulated the product layout with precision, highlighted areas where customer feedback influenced further placement, and even identified a mislabeled section that the representative had overlooked. Subsequently, the representative led Vernon to a more private spot near the registers. She possesses keen insight, understands the client, and is well acquainted with the inventory. "That's quite uncommon." Vernon remarked that she lacked a voice here just 2 weeks prior. The representative arched an eyebrow. "Indeed, she possesses one now." After she departed, Vernon noticed Cody in the stockroom, bent over a box of returned items, a scanner gripped in one hand. He was evidently attempting to hurry, yet his hands shook intermittently, and he frequently cast anxious looks toward the door. Vernon entered with deliberate caution. "Are you all right?" Cody continued to scan, eager to finish this task before the lunch crowd surged in. Inhaled deeply. Cody took a moment to pause, placing the scanner gently on the surface. "I must get this right. I made an error with the return yesterday. I believed I had resolved the issue, yet a customer returned visibly upset. It has been corrected." "That's what truly counts." Cody averted his gaze. "I have 2 pieces still on record from earlier. I prefer not to provide anyone with a reason to doubt my ability to manage this situation." "Those records have disappeared," Vernon stated. "We have successfully cleared them. We are embarking on a new beginning." Cody nodded in silence, and Vernon chose not to press further. Certain matters required patience. During lunch, Vernon connected with HR via video call from the office to kick off the formal promotion process for Renzo and to launch a pilot program for peer-led training. Lisa and Jules would receive a stipend to aid in its development, while Cody would lend his support by testing modules during his less busy shifts. He exited the office at the moment. A customer began to raise her voice by, "The self-checkout. No, I prefer not to wait for someone to locate a manager. I have already provided an explanation for this. 2 times. A young employee named Delia, who had just started her job 4 days ago, stood rigidly at the kiosk, attempting to speak, but clearly feeling overwhelmed. Vernon strolled over. "Madam," he spoke softly, "I'm here to assist with that." The customer pivoted, words spilling forth, yet her tone mellowed as she acknowledged his tranquility. He swiftly addressed the problem in less than 90 seconds while managing the coupon scan, personally escorting her to the exit. Upon his return, Delia remained positioned behind the kiosk, her hands tightly clenched. "You did well," he remarked. "The words eluded me. You maintained a sense of respect. It's more challenging than it appears." Delia offered a quick, decisive nod before returning her focus to the task at hand. By early afternoon, everything was operating seamlessly. Vernon paused briefly as he entered the break room, where Jamal sat by himself, munching on a sandwich and leafing through a well-worn paperback. "Is it all right if I join you?" Jamal let out a small sigh, placing the book aside. "Have you ever considered transitioning into a logistics position?" Vernon inquired. "I have no knowledge on that subject. Your punctuality has been consistent since my arrival. Your ability to accelerate product movement is unparalleled. Your attention to cleanliness is commendable. That's an initial step." Jamal fixed his gaze on the table, lost in thought for a moment. "I was under the impression that no one was paying attention. We observe now." He rose to depart but hesitated at the threshold. "Once you're prepared, I would like you to observe the upcoming truck delivery." Jamal gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Understood." The remainder of the day unfolded quietly, devoid of any notable events. The team proceeded steadily, each step intentional and focused. Jules guided Delia through a register jam. Lisa proactively assisted a customer in locating a rare brand of stain remover, demonstrating her initiative and attentiveness. Renzo deftly adjusted the shift board as calls came in, maneuvering pieces with the precision of a chess master, fully aware of the entire landscape before him. At the conclusion, Vernon assembled the essential team in the front aisle. The surface gleamed with cleanliness, the shelves brimmed with goods. The atmosphere had shifted once more. "We've made significant progress in just 4 days," he remarked, "and there's still more ahead of us. However, this store and this team are evolving into something I can truly take pride in," he said, looking at Renzo. "Beginning Monday, you will take on the role of the official store lead. We will provide you with training assistance and connect you with a mentor from Store 2, followed by Lisa. You are leading the training program for new hires. You will create the framework, manage the onboarding process, and monitor outcomes. For Jules, you are providing support. Your customer insight is better than most of our managers to Cody. You're piloting the new return protocols. I want your feedback by Friday." Each person nodded, not with surprise this time, but with steady focus. Vernon looked around. "This is how we move forward, together. Nobody gets left behind. Nobody gets ignored. There were no claps, no cheers, just quiet agreement, the kind that meant something. As the team filtered out, Vernon stood by the entrance watching the parking lot empty. The streetlights buzzed, and a breeze rustled the plastic bags caught in the fence along the edge of the property. He wasn't here to save anyone. They were saving themselves. All he had done was give them the space finally to lead.